Welcome to the EZCODE Projects series Padlock video number 7. In this video, we'll add a header to our page, a new background color, and sign our artwork. If you have not done so already, please complete the previous EZCODE Projects Padlock series videos. For those of you that have done so, let's begin. All right, let's get our directory open for the padlock. Open folder. I keep mine in projects. EZCODE padlock. There it is. Open. Okay. Now let's open the view HTML and let's add a new header. So we're going to go above the view container and we're going to put in a div with a class, and let's say equals header. And inside of that, I am going to put EZCODE Padlock series. But you can put whatever you'd like here. This is going to be your header. So glamorize it all you'd like. Now let's save our work and refresh the browser. Let's find our file first, since it's the first time we're opening it up. And here we go. Let's open up the developer console and we can see there's our header right above the view container, right where we want it. So in the developer console, let's add some CSS and kind of watch this header change over time. So let's select the header and we'll go over to element.style here, and we're just going to put some things in right now. If you recall, display flex. And let's align the items center. Let's see what happens there. And let's give it a height of 80px. Let's see what happens when we do that one. All right, so we have a few things going on there. And while we're at it, you know, we are in the center here, but let's also just we'll do justify content as well, and we'll center that. And then let's give it a background color. So background color, and I already have one picked out, but please help yourself on what color you'd like to put on there. If you can't get one off the top of your head, we can do this one for now, and we'll come back and do one. So there we go. We have a background color for our header. And now another property of CSS, when you want to do text or fonts, the color of the font itself, it's just the lonely property color. It's not font color, it's nothing, it's just color. That always means the color of the font. So in this case, we're gonna use the hex code for white, and we are gonna give a font size. Let's give it a little bit bigger there, 40px. And let's have a little bit of fun with it too. We're going to add a font family, which is a way to add several different types of fonts, because not all browsers carry the same fonts. But we're using HTML safe fonts here, so we're just going to go with sans serif on this one, which should be available on all the browsers. If not, it'll go to its default settings. And that's it for our header right now. So let's also add some background color to the view container as well. So let's go over here to the view container, and we're just going to add some background. I can put it here in this class because it is the class for the view container, or I can put it up here. In fact, we'll just do that, so that's what we're used to. And I've chosen a color of, there we go. So we have slightly gray. It still brings out the gray in the padlock. Everything should be okay there. So now let's see, add some background color as well. Now let's open the lock and see how that's working. Let's see what that does with our color changes. So 2024, and we can notice that the spacer we used for the lock clasp is still white. So let's fix that in our style.css file. So let's reselect the header div and copy the CSS we typed from the browser at least for the large part of it. So this one was a bit more. We're going to copy that one and just remember what we did to view container by adding the color. And in the style CSS file, we're going to add a new class of header. That's what we called it. And we're going to copy paste in what we had before. I'm also going to just clean this up a bit. I know I did the justify content. I like to keep those together. And we'll probably, and that's fine. This looks good there. We're also going to go to the view container. So let's see if we can find the view. There it is. So let's just add a background color. And if you remember, I chose this one. And again, feel free to choose whatever colors you would like for your own background, or do it later. We could always play around with the code later on and change any colors that we want. So we're also going to do a little bit of work here to fix that spacer. Now, we could just go into the spacer down here and we could change this color to match the color of the view container. But every time we might, let's say we have a lot of different Padlock series and we want to change the colors often, what's a good way of holding static code or static items values that really don't, if they do change over time, we would want to do it only in one place and not everywhere in the file. And it's just like in the last video where we put the lock, the static values for the lock open and close, the 10px and 0px, we put it in a variable. And in modern CSS, we can do that as well. So let's go up to the very top of our file, the very tippity top of our Padlock series style.css file. And we're going to do a little bit different type of words we haven't used before. But this is just saying this is applied to the root document. And what we're going to do is create a CSS variable, and this is how you do it. So, of course, it's just 2 hyphens, and then we can put whatever words that we'd want to call it. In this case, I like to use a name, some name to specify that it's part of this code base. In this case, it's the Padlock. And we could put more Padlock module. We could put whatever we want, but I'm just going to put Padlock, and then I like to describe what we're overriding, really, in this case. So that's Padlock, just like the CSS we had before. It's a colon, and then we're going to put the value that we had before. Now, I'm just going to add a little space here. Now we have a variable that's available to our CSS. And to use it, I'm going to show you that when we change the view container and the spacer background colors. So let's go down to the view, and here is where we had the background color before. In this case, we're going to open it up here, or delete what we had there. And to consume the variable, once it's been created, we have to use a CSS method. This is a method like anything else. It's going to need parentheses to be called or invoked, and we're going to pass in the variable that we had before. So this is how we consume the variables, and on line 3 is how we create the variables. Now we're going to find the spacer, which is somewhere down here. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, and now we have the spacer background color. We're going to get rid of that one, and we're going to say var Padlock. There it is again. Now let's save our work. Okay, and let's go back to the browser. Let's refresh the browser. Here's our header, our background colors, everything persisted after the refresh. That's good, we got everything right there. And let's enter the combination and note the spacer, if the spacer color is the same or it changed or what happened there. So I put the combination in, and here you go. You can't see it, just to assure that we're not lying to ourselves. There's the spacer, here's the color, and you can see it's actually drawing from the variable. It's not even placing what it is in here. And if we scroll down a little bit, we can see part of the root object for the style And the page itself is right here. Here's the color it's drawing from. So if we change the background color on the view container, there will still be a mismatch. So if I went in here and was still playing around this way, and I changed this to be this color, you can see the spacer is still the color that it was before. So just note that's not the way to change this before. What we would do if we found, we find the variable here, then the changes will propagate if we change them. So we have the spacer. You can note it's the color of the background, which is why it gives the illusion that there is a space there. And we went to red or any other color, and you can see both are changing their colors respectively. And that's what we wanted. So this is about as close as we can get to controlling the colors that way. Not that we'd ever really need to do that on the EZCODE Padlock series, but we do need to know how to do that. So let's refresh the browser to return to what it was, and let's add our signature to our work of art. So let's go back to VS Code and the view HTML, and let's add one more item right below the combination. So we see here's the combination, here's the div, there's the closing div on line 30. So let's go there, and we're going to create another div, sibling div, and we're going to call it signature. And we're going to add 2 divs inside of it. Let's call, we don't need any classes on this one. Let's just call it created by. And what we're going to do is just create another one here. And here is where you can put your name, last name, first name, middle name, nickname, whatever you would like to put. Who created this work of art that we're going to be looking at here? So I'm going to put in EZCODE, and we're going to save our work. And let's go over to the style.css page now, and let's add a little bit of CSS to get this going. So if you remember, it's not in the Padlock, and it's sibling to header. Actually, it's not even sibling to header. It's within the view container, which we didn't nest any of our CSS in the view container that we created, but that's okay, because it was up here and we were doing our project CSS down here. So we'll continue to do that, and we'll just make a signature class, and this one we're going to do a different font family, and we're going to do a margin top of 20px to give us some space between the signature and the combination body. And then remember, we have 2 divs, and we're going to, it's more helpful than I needed it to be. So in the divs, we're going to say they're both display flex, so we can justify content. We're going to justify the center content. We're going to give it a line height. We haven't seen this one before, but line height is kind of the space. Think of it like when you have pieces of paper that have lines on them to write with, paragraph paper. There's college ruled, there's the normal size, there's different sizes of the lines to write within. And so we're not taking the browser default, we're specifying 1.5, and we'll take a look at that when we get to the browser. Font size is going to be 30px, and our color, remember color specifies the font color, is going to be this color here. In this case, you might need to change this later on to match whatever background you picked. There should be some contrast between the two. Now we're going to do one more crazy little thing here that we really haven't done before, and that's we're going to say we're going to have some special conditions which CSS allows. And to do those conditions, we're going to say we're talking about the div because we're still nested in the div, and we're going to say and, or the ampersand sign, and then we're going to give a colon, And there's many of these. Once again, just type as I do. You can play with this later on. You'll learn what they are. There's a ton of different ones. This one's a very popular one you'll use often, first child or last child. And what we can do is we can say, because we've already done a font size and a color, but in this case, we want the created by to be slightly different. And we could choose last child to do this. I just chose to do first child. And we're going to override the size that we have above. So instead of 30px, this is going to be 20px. And the color is going to be slightly different. So we're going to go change that up a little bit as well. And so what we're saying is the div, both divs are to get this, but only the first child, the first div, is to get these two. So we're just overriding what was there before. The color and the font size will be different. So let's go ahead and we'll save our work. And let's go back to the browser. Okay, we have some things going on here. Now let's check out our work and make sure everything still works. We do have a few issues we can see right now where the signature, did I spell everything right? No, I didn't spell something right, or I didn't save. What was it? So we'll go here. Let's just copy this. What did I have wrong there? We'll save it and we'll just refresh again real quick. That wasn't the cause. So for some reason, our padlock combination signature is not picking up our CSS. So let's go back to VS Code and we're going to troubleshoot this real time. Okay, we have the dot signature class. Oh, I see what the issue is. Okay, so in here, there's the double strings value here. I have a single, I'm thinking of apostrophe right now, but the quotations, I have a single quotation that was in there instead of with the double. So really, it was looking for a class of dot single quotation signature. Okay, let's save that, and we'll go back to the browser and hit refresh. And we do have the CSS applied now. Now you can see we have a little bit different color options. So we can say created by, but we want emphasis on the name. And we have some spacing. And as I spoke before, we'll go ahead and take a look at the line height. So let's hover over this thing, and you can see as I change the line height. So over here I have it selected. I'm just hovering over this now so we can see what happens. And you can see the line height, I'm growing by one digit at a time. So you can see you make them bigger or smaller. We're at 1.5. We could go over to the 5 and start, taking that down. Let's say it was 110. There's 1 without the 0.5. So just different ways to provide some spacing as well. So we have a line height, we have our created at by, and our personalization. Everything looks really good right here. And just to make sure we are still not kidding ourselves, our lock works. So we have our header, we have our lock, we have our combination, and we have our personalized style. So I hope you picked some good colors of what you like. If not, please revisit and change it to any way you'd like to do it. So this completes the basic EZCODE Padlock series. Congratulations for getting through this. And if you have questions about programming, that's exactly as it should be. It should continue as you grow on what you're doing. And if all you did was watch and write down, that's exactly how we learn how to program. We have to start typing and writing before the understanding comes. So continually go through it again and again, look over the files that you did, go in and break things, and then see what happens in the browser to understand what's going on. So in the future, the series may get additional videos to explore other possibilities. If I do, they'll be labeled extra. And so look for those keywords. And then if you enjoyed the video and you'd like to know more about any extras that come in or any other type of projects that we publish, go ahead and click the like and then subscribe buttons to get notifications of new content. In fact, I know you know those buttons or how those buttons work now anyways. So when you look at the YouTube or at least the video provider, you can look at those buttons and right-click, inspect, and see how they're working. So thank you for exploring programming with me, and I'll see you in the next project.